Hi everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I want to share with you guys a new and delicious cake recipe, and I want to show you how to make a pistachio honey baklava cake with pistachio buttercream. You guys are going to be blown away with the incredible flavors here. We're going to be using tons of pistachios and honey, and the flavors are reminiscent of my favorite type of baklava. We're going to get things started with some moist and delicious honey cake layers, fill the inside with the pistachio and honey filling, and then frost the cake with my pistachio buttercream. And I have a separate recipe for the buttercream. I'm going to include it down the video description box below, so make sure to check that out as well. Meanwhile, let's get started. I'm going to show you how to make this baklava inspired cake. I'm preheating my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I've lined 3 8-inch cake pans with some parchment paper. I'm also going to spray down the sides with a non-stick baking spray. Once these cake layers are completely cooled, I'm going to grab a serrated knife and split them in half. So we're going to have 6 layers total for today's cake. I'm going to set these pans aside for now, and we're going to get started with the liquid ingredients first. Into a large mixing bowl, I'm going to add in 1 cup of sour cream, and this is going to make the cake really nice and fluffy. Next, we're going to add in 3/4 cups of cooking oil, and today I am using canola oil. And we'll need 4 large eggs for today's recipe, and I recommend bringing these up to room temperature, which will ensure that the cake batter bakes more evenly. Add in the eggs, along with 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And for sweetening the cake today, I'll be using 1 cup of pure honey. I'm going to grab my hand mixer. You could also use a stand mixer for this recipe. I'm going to mix all these ingredients together for a couple minutes until I have a smooth and uniform mixture. Next up, for my dry ingredients, I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. To them, I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And mix that all together. I'll sift the dry ingredients into the cake batter. I'll use my hand mixer to mix the dry ingredients into the cake batter, and I'm going to mix just until that flour is incorporated. You don't want to over mix at this step. You don't want to over mix the flour, the gluten, otherwise you're going to end up with heavy and gummy cake layers. I'm going to portion out my prepared cake batter between the 3 pans. And when I'm making 3 cake layers, I like to double check the weight of the cake batter using a kitchen scale, just to make sure that each cake layer is very even. My honey cake layers are ready for the oven. They're going to bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 24 to 26 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. Once these are done baking, I'm going to let them cool in the pans for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then we'll transfer them onto a wire rack to cool completely. While these are cooling, it's the perfect time to make a batch on my pistachio buttercream. I have a separate video for that, so head on over. I'm going to include that video link down the video description box below, and then we'll come back to put together this cake. My honey cake layers have cooled completely, and I actually like to place them into the refrigerator for about 30 minutes so they're a little bit easier to work with. I also have my pistachio buttercream chilling in the refrigerator until I'm ready to use it. And for the filling, I've diced about 1.5 cups of pistachios, and you want these to be really finely diced. I also have a little bit of honey here that we're going to be adding to the cake as well. And now let's put everything together. So I'm going to first level each cake slice, and then I'm also going to split them in half, so we'll have 6 cake layers total. And I usually like to go around the edges of the cake first before cutting all the way through, just kind of score it on the outside. Make sure it's nice and level, and then slice through. Perfect. To assemble the cake, I'm first going to drizzle a little bit of honey onto each cake layer, and then we'll just let that soak in. It'll act kind of like a simple syrup, except it'll be honey, and it's going to add even more great flavor. Just going to spread it with a little spatula. Next, I'm going to grab my pistachio buttercream. We're going to add a nice layer of this over the cake. I've transferred some of my frosting into a pastry bag and I've just tipped it with a simple round tip. I'm going to pipe a little barrier ring of frosting along the edges. It doesn't have to be too tall. And I'll grab my finely diced pistachios. I'm just going to sprinkle a little layer of these on the inside. Grab some honey, drizzle that over the top. This cake is going to have so much incredible pistachio and honey flavor. Then I'm going to add on my next cake layer. Now that I have my cake assembled, I'm going to go around the edges and apply a crumb coat of frosting, which is just a thin layer of the buttercream that's going to seal in all the crumbs. And then I'm going to place the cake into the refrigerator, let it chill for anywhere from 15 to 20, even 30 minutes. And then we'll come back to apply a final layer of frosting and garnish the cake. And I'm going to garnish the top of the cake with the same diced pistachios that I used for the filling. Just sprinkle these over the top. Drizzle some of this honey over the top as well. And I'm going to pipe my remaining frosting on the top, and today I'm using a French tart tip number 4. Going to add little dollops of frosting along the edges. Oops. That came right up. All right, time to cut into this stunning cake to see what it looks like on the inside. Let's grab a nice sharp knife. Now when you're making this at home, I recommend letting this cake chill in the refrigerator for a couple hours so that frosting can set up nicely. Check out all those incredible cake layers. How amazing does that look? I'm loving the honey cake layers with the bits of the pistachio and then that pistachio frosting. This is going to taste incredible. And that's it for my pistachio honey baklava inspired cake. This turned out so stunning with all those incredible cake layers, the buttercream, the pistachios. Can't wait to dig in and enjoy. For the full recipe, make sure to head on down the video description box. I'm going to leave a link there that'll take you over to my website so you can print this recipe off and you can find it with metric measurements. Just hit the metric button in the recipe card. I'm also going to include the video link for the pistachio buttercream so you can check that out as well. Meanwhile, let's dig in to enjoy. A pistachio baklava with honey is one of my absolute favorite desserts, and that's what inspired this incredible cake. That would be so great for the holiday season, or really any time of the year you're craving for a fantastic cake. This looks so good. I have no words for this deliciousness. This is just amazing. You guys are gonna be blown away with the flavors. It actually kind of does taste like a baklava with the pistachios and the honey cake layers. This is just phenomenal. You guys are gonna be blown away with this cake. If you're a huge fan of baklava like I am, you have to give this cake a try. It is just so incredibly delicious. Those delicate honey cake layers, they've soaked up that honey. You get crunchy bits of the salted pistachios and that pistachio buttercream. It's so, so good. It really complements this entire cake and just brings it all together. Now this cake is a little bit on the sweeter side because we did add tons of honey into it, but I just love the texture that it creates. It kind of sinks into all those like nooks and crannies of the cake, and then when you bite into it, it's just this amazing explosion of honey flavor, and it's really balanced out with those salty pistachios. So make sure you grab some salted nuts for this recipe. I hope you guys enjoy this special cake for any special occasion or holiday that you have coming up. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy this recipe as much as I do.